Welcome to Strengths Champion Solutions, where we help organizations, teams, leaders, and entrepreneurs to grow stronger, work smarter, and live richer. Today, we're going to be talking about how to champion your people through the employee life cycle. Now, one of my sayings that I like to use to help people understand what I do and what I bring to their organization is that we help you champion your people like your business depends on it. It is our responsibility as leaders, as an organization, to get the best out of our people, not just so that we are more profitable and more productive, but also to help engage and improve the well-being of our associates and employees that work in our organizations. Today, we're going to look at a model, a framework of the employee experience. I like to call it the employee life cycle. And Gallup has published and put this life cycle in a format that I think is much beneficial and helps us to look at how we can structure and apply strengths throughout the process. When I work with organizations, we typically go through a strengths 101, 201, 301, and 401. 101 is about discovering your strengths. 201 is about developing your strengths. 301 is about deploying your strengths into the workplace. And 401 is about designing a strengths-based culture in your workplace. So today what I'm going to share is really that 301 and give you a very high-level overview without going into too many details, which we go into inside of our workshops. Many of you may be planning programs, training, executive coaching for the fall or even the spring of 2023. And so I've given you a link where you can reach out and contact me, as well as I want to let you know about a brand new workplace solutions toolkit that has 7 different tools that will help you to champion your people inside the workplace. So I've given you that download link in the notes. If you have any kind of comments or questions, please put it in the thread and I would love to respond to you as well. So when we look at an organization, whether it is a public, large, big business organization, or whether it is considered a small business, maybe privately owned organization, you can see that, first of all, organizations thrive whenever there is a clear sense of purpose, brand, and culture. So the organizational values, the organizational mission and purpose is clear, and there is a unique culture that is built in that particular organization. And of course, in order to move that culture forward, you have to have great managers. You have to have clarity in the role and the teams and in your workspace, as well as how do you grow the happiness, or what we call in psychology, subjective well-being of your people. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today is, first of all, how as an organization are you doing in attracting top talent, star employees? So have they heard about your culture? Have they heard about your values? And have they bought into the mission and purpose of your organization? I can tell you, I've worked with many organizations who are doing a great job at attracting talent. One particular organization I'm working with now in the software technology industry has a great internship program. And so they are attracting top talent and giving them an opportunity to get experience, to get mentoring. But here's even a better scenario for the company. They're getting live game film on these interns so that they can determine the potential of these star employees. There are some that will continue on with the organization and some that will not. But how many of us know of organizations that we do not even want to work with? You can probably think of those, right? Because probably their mission, their values, their core purpose is not clear. The brand is not clear. Maybe it's all about profit. When I think about Starbucks, I think a lot of people are attracted to the mission and purpose. Southwest Airlines is another example. People are attracted to the love culture. So what are you doing to build an attraction strategy? Because I hear from leaders, this is one of the most critical components of growing their organization, especially in today's world, is attracting star employees. They are struggling to get not just skilled workers, but also leaders with potential. But once you start attracting potential employees, star employees, not just filling seats, but getting the best talent, then you have to go through a hiring process. Now, let me ask you a question. How many of you have actually taken any kind of training or coursework in hiring? It's amazing how many people have not. I can tell you myself that I am going through that process right now. And I will be introducing some new hiring strategies and techniques that you can use, and we can bring a hiring workshop into your organization. Hiring is one of the most critical parts of any industry, big business or small business. Whether it is hiring contract employees for small business, or whether it is hiring executives or managers. Hiring managers is the most critical position in any organization. According to Gallup research, 82% of organizations miss-hire at the manager level. They are not making great choices in hiring star managers. Why? Well, there are many biases that we have in the hiring process. There are a lack of strategy and a lack of documented systems in hiring. So I think it's important to realize that Clifton Strengths, aka StrengthsFinder, is not a legal hiring tool. It is a development tool. Though something that many people don't understand is once you make sure that someone has a great work experience that fits your culture, that it's a good culture fit, that they have the skills that you're looking for, the character that you're looking for, when you get to that point in the hiring process, using Clifton Strengths Assessment as a tool to figure out how you will get the best out of that employee is a critical process in the hiring. And so learning how to ask strengths-based hiring questions to see what level of raw versus refined talents are inside of your people and how they are mastering using those talents in their role can be an important part of the hiring process. Now, we do not hire people based on, well, they have a responsibility strength, and that's one of our favorite strengths. That is a no-no. You can be a very responsible person and not have high responsibility in your top 10 talent themes. So it's important to look at how to get the best out of your people by using Clifton Strengths Assessment. Now, once people are hired, then starts the onboarding process. And I like to ask leaders, what is your onboarding process? And they'll typically say, well, we usually tell them they have 90 days and we give them our standard operating procedure manual or SOP. And, we ask them to read our website, and that's about it. Well, if you're going to get the best out of your people, the honeymoon phase is so strategic. And that's what onboarding is. You have the opportunity to build a relationship, to get the best out of your people in that honeymoon phase. And so there's been a lot of research, even recently, on onboarding, and Gallup has come out with 5 questions that are important to ask in the onboarding process. Number 1, asking the new hire, what do we believe in around here? So in other words, what are the values? What is the mission and purpose of our organization? Now, I've actually created a very practical worksheet where now new employees can document how they're going to apply their strengths to these 5 questions. And so I'm teaching this and helping my organizations to do this now in a systematic, documented way. So for example, let's just say that hospitality is one of your core values. And you ask the new employee, how can you use your strengths to be in alignment with this value of hospitality? So obviously, if a person has woo, it's very easy that they might use that, or includer might be very easy. But what if you have learner, maybe even analytical? How could that person use that strength to still have a hospitable value? So helping people to think through that and to coach and brainstorm through that is the first question. The second question is, what are my strengths? And so they're already starting to get to know their strengths in the hiring process. Now, in the onboarding process, personally, I'm having them apply their strengths to well-being first. So when you look at those 5 elements of well-being, career, social, financial, physical, community, how can a person use their top 5 to 10 strengths in their well-being in each of these 5 areas? So writing out, documenting what this is will help get the best out of your employees. The third question is, what is my role? So in my new role with this organization, how can I apply my top 10 strengths to my role? This is one of the most fun parts of onboarding and coaching, is helping people to get creative in aiming, applying their strengths to their role. Maybe it's in management, maybe it's in sales, maybe it is in marketing, maybe it's in engineering. Whatever it is, how can you help them get clear in how they could apply their strengths in their role? The fourth question is, who are my partners in this organization? So in other words, it's the relationships, it's the partnerships and relationships that you're wanting to quickly build during onboarding. And by the way, according to the latest research, onboarding should probably be about a 12-month to 18-month experience. 18 months usually for those executives. For skilled workers, at least a year. Okay. So that means, how will I use my strengths to partner with other people in the organization? So what are my strengths? What are my manager's strengths as a partner? How do I navigate those? Maybe someone else is in a different department in the organization that you need to do cross training or have cross relationships with. And so you're trying to understand, how do I understand their strengths so that they can understand my strengths, so that we can get the best out of each other. The fifth question in onboarding to look at is, what does my future career look like in this organization? So this gets people immediately dreaming about what's possible in their career. So this is something you start doing in the honeymoon, right? You start asking, so where do you see yourself in the workplace in 5 years, in 10 years? What kind of work activities would you love to do more of? What kind of roles would best fit your aspirations in your career? So you're getting people to dream and to use their strengths with the career aspirations. Now, when you continue on from attract, hire, onboard, now we're going into that next phase of what we call the engagement. We want to bring out the best in our people. So that means employee engagement is one of the best scientific ways that we can measure, we can track, and we can bring out the best in our people. Now, every organization may have their favorite employee engagement tool, survey. Now, of course, as a Gallup certified strengths coach, I love using the Q12. So the Q12 is an excellent tool that helps us to measure and to use engagement as an accelerant right alongside strengths. So I can give you a quick example. This is one of my current clients, organizational clients that I'm working with. And so you can track how the team is doing on 12 different questions that are research-based. And so we use it as a pre and a post. So a pre-test to see where the engagement level is, where are the strengths of this team, and where are the gaps in this team. And then we start doing action planning with that team around those engagement items. And also, as we're deploying the strengths-based coaching and training throughout the year, we'll wrap up with a post-test to see what kind of changes have made. So if you're not familiar with the Q12, I'll very quickly just read these 12 questions that Gallup has researched. We do a whole workshop going in depth on this and helping executives to go deeply into how they can do action planning with this area. But on a scale of 1 to 5, a Likert scale, the first question is, I know what is expected of me at work. Number 2, I have the materials and equipment I need to do my work right. By the way, the wording of each of these questions is proprietary, and it's important that you use and follow the proprietary laws. Question 3, at work, I have the opportunity to do what I do best every day, which, by the way, according to Gallup research, is the number one question that is tied to employee engagement. Question 4, in the last 7 days, I have received recognition or praise for doing good work. 5, my team leader or someone at work seems to care about me as a person. So not just as a widget, not just as a productive person who brings in revenue, but as a person. Question 6, there is someone at work who encourages my development. 7, at work, my opinions seem to count. Number 8, the mission or purpose of my company makes me feel my job is important. So there is a feeling aspect to this question. Number 9, my coworkers are committed to doing quality work. Number 10, I have a best friend at work. Yeah, we can go deeper in discussing why that is part of the employee engagement survey. Question 11, in the last 6 months, someone at work has talked to me about my progress. So this is talking about performance development, performance reviews. And question 12, the last year, I've had opportunities at work to learn and grow. So using employee engagement, if you measure employee engagement, but you don't do anything with it, that is just as destructive as not even having an employee engagement plan or strategy or tool to measure employee engagement. So you have to measure plus do action planning around this. Now let's talk about the next area, which is performance. This is where a lot of us as managers and leaders, we like to go quickly to performance. How do we get the best performance out of our people? By the way, I love sharing how Vince Lombardi is known as being the person who stated whenever his players made a great football play, he would only show the successful plays. His belief was when they watched themselves in top performance, that their brain would actually help them to continue and increase that top performance. Now, many organizations show you the bad plays. And this is a difference between a strengths-based organization and a weakness-fixing organization. If you're only talking about what your employees did wrong to the detriment of not springboarding on their successes, you are losing the potential of your people. So one of the tools that we use, at least to get people started, is called the 4 Keys Coaching Guide. The 4 Keys Coaching Guide. Again, a great tool by Gallup. It's originally in First Break All the Rules. You can actually purchase these documents from Gallup. And I love helping managers to use these, either create your own creative performance evaluation, and you can build on these questions, or you can use this 4 Keys Coaching Guide as a great starting place, not only in having once a year conversations. We encourage you to have at least a quarterly conversation on performance with your people. So that means there's a one-on-one. And so the 4 keys of talent literally give you 4 major areas and gives you specific questions, 23 different questions that you would ask in performance-based conversations. So you would, first of all, have a conversation around their talent and their strengths. Then you would look at the second key, which is all about setting expectations. So making sure that expectations are clear. And by the way, some people forget that onboarding also includes reboarding. So if someone goes from one division or one team to another division or team, then reboarding happens, and having an initial performance evaluation using this tool and then an ongoing conversation, you can expand on this, setting expectations. The third key is about motivation. How do you get the best motivation from each individual? And as you know, what motivates one person does not motivate another. So that means learning their, I like to say, their love language, or their language of appreciation in the workplace. And by the way, you can see a correlation between not just their values, but also people's strengths with the type of recognition and praise that is most motivating to them. And then finally, in the 4 keys of coaching is how do we continue to develop and bring out the best? And that really kind of brings us into this 6th area, which is about developing your people long-term, not just short-term, but developing them long-term. So, by the way, this is where you have to learn, managers and leaders who are having these one-to-ones, you have to learn to go from a boss to what I call a coach savvy approach. We actually have a course on this, a workshop on going from boss to a coach savvy leader. So, as a leader, you want to develop yourself being more fascinated and curious about the individual, how to get the best out of them. And so, by the way, we like to discuss that there are 5 different types of coaching conversations that manager leaders can have in organizations. Number 1 is that initial onboarding or reboarding I mentioned. Number 2, when you have a quick connect. A quick connect could be coaching in the moment. Literally 5 minutes or 7 minutes can be some of the most impactful experiences for people. So it's mentoring and coaching in the moment. Check-in, so that's more of a weekly or even bi-weekly one-on-one that you might have, that is going to be anywhere from 45 minutes, maybe even to an hour and a half. And each person is going to be different, how often they want their check-in conversation. But this is where you're helping hold them accountable. What kind of action items did they complete? Where were they challenged? But you're also looking at how can you help them apply their strengths to their development and performance. Then there's what we call developmental coaching conversations. Many times organizations hire someone like myself as a master certified coach to come in and do outside coaching to develop executives. But sometimes it is also important to understand that developmental coaching is something that leaders and people may be gifted in inside of an organization. So you're helping develop them and bring out the best in them. And then finally is number 5, which is the progress review, which we were talking a little bit more about earlier. The progress review is, some organizations only have one a year. That is just not enough, y'all. So we encourage at least twice a year, but we encourage even quarterly conversations. So in other words, really the progress review, you might have a formal progress review, but also you need to have an ongoing conversation with someone. So as we look at this last area of the employee life cycle, that is when people leave an organization, what are you doing to make sure that that person is leaving on a good note? And if they're not leaving on a good note, what are we learning from the exit interview and the exit experience? Now, some people intend to have a exit interview, but they don't have it documented. They don't have a system. And so it's important that you create an exit documented experience for those that are leaving. And by the way, this is in small business as well as big organizations. And I think it's important, sometimes we have star employees who have done fantastic work, and we hear now the topic of quiet quitting. So for some reason, people are leaving organizations, even though they seem present, but they may not be totally actively engaged. And so maybe they want a hybrid workplace. Maybe they want more autonomy. Maybe they want more opportunity for work-life balance and well-being opportunities. The other thing is, many times there are bad relationships why people leave our organization. And we've always heard that people leave managers, not organizations. So that means we need to understand what is going on if our people are leaving. So whether someone is actively disengaged and leaving because they're not happy with our organization, or because they are a star employee but moving on. And, it may hurt, developing someone so well and them moving on. However, the best leaders understand this will happen. If you think about it, as parents who raise children, and I have 2 adult children and 2 grandsons now, it actually makes me feel proud and good to know that my 2 adult children are independent, living on their own, creating the life that they dreamed of doing. That makes me so proud of them. And I think as leaders in organizations, we can also have that, even though it may be a transition, it may be a change. So today we've done this very fast, quick flyover of the employee life cycle. And I've given you just a few ideas of how, at least we at Strengths Champion Solutions, we apply strengths throughout all 7 phases of the employee experience. And so each one of these areas, we go more in depth with a workshop. And if you're interested, then send me a connection request. I put that in the notes, as well as on BrentO'Bannon.com. You can either create an Ask Brent Anything call with me, or use the contact and let me know what you're requesting. Maybe it's executive coaching, maybe it's strategic planning, maybe it's a one-time workshop for your team or your organizations. But right now is the best time to get your plans ready, not only for the fall of 2022, but also for spring and going forward in 2023. So like I said at the beginning of this broadcast today, you want to champion your people like your business depends on it. So continue, my friend, to grow stronger, work smarter, and